Identity is not how others react to you. It is not applause. It is not desire. It is not the momentary feeling of being chosen. Identity is what remains when no one is watching you perform. When there is no feedback loop, no mirror, no reward. A real identity is internally constructed. It forms when a person decides who they are willing to be even when no one benefits them for it. It is stable over time. Not because life doesn't change, but because the center does not collapse with every shift in attention. And most importantly, identity is built through limits, through self-restraint, through saying no, to impulses, to validation, to easy approval. This is why identity is slow to form. It requires friction, consistency, repetition without reward. And it is difficult to fake because it reveals itself in silence. Sexual attention operates in the opposite direction. It is external by nature. It exists only through reaction. Without an observer, it disappears. It is ephemeral. Today, intense. Tomorrow, gone. Never guaranteed. And it is quantitative. More looks, more messages, more matches, more proof. Not better character. Just more signals. Sexual attention rewards visibility, not depth. Exposure, not substance. Reaction, not integrity. It doesn't ask, who are you when you're alone? It asks, how many people respond? And yet, despite all this, it feels like identity. Because the brain mistakes intensity for meaning. It confuses stimulation with significance. When attention arrives consistently, the self starts leaning on it. Not consciously, not deliberately, but neurologically. The nervous system begins to regulate itself through desire. Presence becomes tied to reaction. Worth becomes something you receive, not something you hold. And over time, the internal core weakens, not from immorality, but from neglect. Because what you don't build inside will always be replaced by whatever is loudest outside. This is how sexual attention begins to feel like identity, even though it was never meant to carry that weight. If sexual attention disappeared tomorrow, no messages lighting up your phone, no lingering looks, no subtle confirmations that you still matter, who would you be? Not what emotion would rise first. Not the panic, not the emptiness, not the anger. But after the noise settles, after the mirror stops reflecting desire back at you, who remains? This question feels uncomfortable because it touches something most people never examine. We are told to feel confident. We are told to love ourselves. But very few are taught how to exist without an audience. Sexual attention feels like proof of existence. It says, I am seen. I am wanted. I still have value. And when that attention is frequent, it becomes invisible. Like oxygen, only noticed when it's gone. Desire, over time, begins to imitate meaning. It creates the illusion of direction. It tells you who you are without asking you to define yourself. Attention imitates worth, not because it truly measures value, but because the nervous system cannot easily distinguish between being noticed and being necessary. And so, slowly, something dangerous happens. Identity, something that should be built from character, competence, and inner continuity, gets outsourced. Not to achievements, not to principles, but to reaction. How others respond to you, how much they want you, how strongly they signal desire. For many people today, this substitution happens quietly. There is no moment of collapse, no dramatic choice, just a gradual shift from being someone to being wanted. And once desire becomes the foundation of the self becomes fragile. Because attention is unstable. It fades, it shifts. It is never fully under your control. And when it disappears, even briefly, it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It threatens your sense of existence. This is not about vanity. It's not about sexuality itself. It's about what happens psychologically when being desired stops being something you experience and starts being something you are. This is the psychology of what happens when sexual attention becomes a substitute for identity. The human brain does not naturally distinguish between affirmation and identity. From a neurological perspective, both activate the same reward circuits. Dopamine does not evaluate why you are valued. It does not ask whether the attention reflects character, competence, or depth. It only registers one thing: you matter. Sexual attention is uniquely powerful because it delivers confirmation at the deepest level of the social brain. Not approval of your ideas, not respect for your skill, but desire for you. This is why it feels existential. Each signal, a look, a message, a reaction, produces instant confirmation, a momentary elevation of mood, a brief expansion of self. The nervous system responds as if something essential has been secured. And crucially, this confirmation arrives without requirements. No competence needs to be demonstrated. No responsibility needs to be sustained. No inner coherence needs to be developed. You do not have to become anything. You only have to be noticed. This is identity without construction, worth without effort. And the brain, left unchecked, prefers shortcuts. Over time, repeated exposure to this pattern trains the nervous system to associate being desired with being real. The self becomes regulated externally. Attention replaces continuity. Reaction replaces reflection. And slowly, the idea of identity itself begins to change. Instead of something built through discipline and consistency, identity becomes something you access, on demand, through visibility. This is where the danger emerges, because anything that creates worth without effort also creates dependence. And anything that regulates the self from the outside leaves the inside underdeveloped. When attention becomes the primary source of selfhood, its absence doesn't just disappoint, it destabilizes. Because the brain has learned, no attention means no self. And that is the psychological trap, not of desire, but of outsourcing identity to dopamine. Sexual attention did not become central to identity by accident. It was engineered into the environment. Modern platforms are not neutral mirrors of human desire. They are attention extraction systems, designed to identify what captures focus, amplify it, and feed it back in accelerated loops. Sexual attention functions perfectly inside this structure because it is fast, emotional, and measurable. Algorithms do not care what kind of attention you receive. They care about engagement, clicks, views, reactions, time spent watching, and desire generates all of them. Each interaction becomes a unit of value, a signal that tells the system, "Show this again." Over time, sexual attention turns into a kind of currency, not consciously traded, but continuously rewarded. Dating apps intensify this process. They reduce attraction to metrics, matches, messages, response time. The human nervous system learns to associate these numbers with social worth, not through ideology, but through repetition. Validation loops form. Attention produces dopamine. Dopamine encourages repetition. Repetition trains expectation. Soon, absence of attention doesn't feel neutral. It feels like loss. And because these systems operate at scale, the conditioning is constant. There is no recovery phase, no silence, no natural decay. Visibility becomes survival. Presence becomes performance. This is not a failure of individual discipline. It is what happens when biological reward systems are placed inside algorithmic feedback machines. The result is predictable. Sexual attention stops being a signal of interest and starts functioning like proof of existence. And in a system where worth is measured by reaction, identity quietly shifts from something you build to something you receive. Carl Jung described the persona as the mask we wear to function in the social world. Not a lie, but a role. The persona is how we adapt, how we become acceptable, how we are seen. In healthy form, it is flexible. lightly worn, a tool, not an identity. But when a specific version of the self is repeatedly rewarded, something changes. Sexual desirability becomes more than a trait. It becomes the mask that works. Each look confirms it. Each message strengthens it. Each reaction polishes it. Over time, the individual learns. This version of me is valuable. And so the mask thickens. The persona inflates, not through narcissism, but through reinforcement. The more it is rewarded, the more space it occupies. What begins as expression slowly becomes substitution. The person no longer uses the persona. They live inside it. And what gets lost is not morality, but balance. Parts of the self that do not generate attention are neglected. Doubt, depth, vulnerability, limits. These qualities don't disappear. They go underground. Jung called this the shadow. The aspects of the self that are not allowed on stage, not evil, just unseen. When the persona is inflated, the shadow grows heavier. The more attention feeds the mask, the more the unseen self presses from below. And eventually, the system destabilizes, because a self built on reaction cannot integrate what isn't rewarded. And what is ignored long enough does not vanish. It waits. Sexual attention can feel like identity. It delivers instant confirmation, elevates the emotions, and inflates the persona. It teaches the brain that being noticed is the same as being real. But that is only half the story, because attention is fleeting. Algorithms shift, messages stop, looks fade, and when the gaze disappears, the self that was never fully built begins to tremble. The mask, the carefully polished persona, remains. But the unseen parts of the self, the shadow, press quietly from below, waiting for the moment when the mirror finally goes dark. Part 2 will explore what happens when attention vanishes and what it costs to have a self that exists only in the eyes of others.